The teasers dropped. The military gates finally opened, and, like, a massive fandom held its collective breath.
But in a single, unscripted second, a joyous reunion turned into an actual crime scene.
Yeah, and the entire K-pop world was turned completely upside down. The headlines are screaming right now. IT went too far. Why Jin is in danger. Welcome to StarScope K-Report. Join Eric and Minji as they ride the Hallyu wave, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates.
Right, and from internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
So for those of you listening, our mission today is to really cut through the absolute chaos of social media rumors. We're doing a deep dive into the legal, cultural, and industry-shaking fallout of BTS Jin's 2024 Festa Hug event.
Exactly. We're pulling from official agency statements, we're dissecting deeply researched legal documents, and breaking down cultural media analysis to understand the anatomy of a fan meet gone horribly, horribly wrong.
We have to start by setting the stage, I think, because understanding the emotional temperature of this comeback is really the only way the rest of this story makes sense.
Oh, totally.
So the date is June 12, 2024. Kim Seokjin, globally known as Jin, officially becomes the first and oldest member of BTS to complete his mandatory military service.
And he didn't just do desk duty, he spent 18 grueling months in the 5th Infantry Division, which is like a frontline, physically demanding posting.
Yeah, and the psychological whiplash of that transition is something people rarely talk about. I mean, you go from the absolute rigidity and isolation of a military base to stepping out into a world where millions of people have been starved of your presence.
It's so intense. A military hiatus in the K-pop industry is a high-risk period, generally speaking. Fandoms can fracture during that time.
Right.
So the pressure on a returning idol to deliver an explosive comeback or to, score an immediate all-kill on the charts is astronomical.
Yeah.
But Jin sidestepped the traditional commercial route entirely.
He really did. He wanted his return to focus entirely on gratitude. Which brings us to the very next day, June 13th.
Which perfectly coincides with Festa, right?
Yeah.
The group's annual anniversary celebration.
Exactly. So Jin decides to host a massive in-person event at the Jamsil Indoor Stadium in Seoul. He didn't want a heavily sanitized press conference or to just wave at fans from behind a plexiglass barrier.
No, instead he pitched his agency an idea that sounds completely unhinged when you know how this industry actually operates. He wanted to physically hug 3,000 fans.
Wait, 3,000? That is just wild.
I know. When you look at the logistics of event management, a 3,000-person physical contact event is an absolute security nightmare. His agency, Bighit Music, fought him on this hard.
I mean, I would too. The prevailing wisdom in the K-pop machine is to protect the asset at all costs.
Yeah, you have to worry about crowd crushes, the transmission of illness, hidden weapons, and just the sheer physical exhaustion of standing and embracing thousands of people.
We are talking about a multi-billion-dollar global icon here. The insurance liabilities alone must have given the corporate executives an ulcer.
Oh, without a doubt. But Jin is notoriously stubborn when it comes to his fans. Army are Hera. So he negotiated the agency down to a 1,000-person raffle.
And he literally walked out onto that stage wearing a cardboard sign around his neck that read, "Hug me."
It is a really profound gesture of vulnerability. He was attempting to instantly bridge the gap of an 18-month absence through direct human warmth.
It's beautiful, really.
It is. And for the vast majority of that 3-hour marathon, the ecosystem worked perfectly. Fans followed the strict staff guidance, kept the line moving, and experienced a beautiful, fleeting moment with their bias.
And for anyone listening who maybe isn't deep into the mechanics of the Hallyu wave, we need to clarify what a bias actually is.
It's so much more than just a favorite member.
Right. The concept of a bias is a deeply engineered, heavily monetized loyalty engine. The entire industry is built to foster an intense parasocial relationship where you feel personally responsible for that idol's success, happiness, and safety.
There is a sacred, unspoken contract of mutual respect, but then someone broke the contract.
Oh man, this part is just so tough to talk about.
A Japanese fan, reportedly in her 50s, steps up to the line. Instead of leaning in for the brief, structured embrace that 999 other people managed to handle, she lunges forward. She grabs Jin by the neck, pulls him in, and non-consensually kisses him.
If you've seen the publicly circulated footage, the physical jarring of the moment just makes your stomach drop. You can see Jin's shock in real time.
Yeah, he physically recoils, violently twisting his head away to avoid her advance, but he is trapped in the momentum of the line.
And he immediately tries to mask his discomfort, you know? He just rushes the next fan forward to avoid a scene. Think of a K-pop fan event, like a high-security state dinner or a meticulously choreographed stage performance.
The trust is incredibly fragile.
Exactly. And the moment one single person breaks the unspoken choreography, the entire illusion shatters. It forces everyone in the room to remember that this is a vulnerable human being surrounded by strangers.
And what makes this so damaging to the industry is not just the physical act itself, but the digital aftermath. This individual didn't retreat in embarrassment.
No, she doubled down.
She went to her personal blog and actively bragged about the assault to the internet. She wrote the actual words, "My lips touched Jin's neck. His skin was very soft."
That is just so deeply predatory.
It really is. That blog post poured gasoline on an already raging fire. It took a moment meant for mutual gratitude and framed it as something violating. Domestic K-nets who absolutely drive the cultural conversation and PR realities for these agencies were just furious.
And the international fandom mobilized immediately. They realized that if this went unpunished, it would set a terrifying precedent for how accessible idols are expected to be.
Oh, for sure.
But if you think the outrage stopped on social media, think again. Wait till you hear how the fandom weaponized the South Korean legal system. But before we get into the courtroom drama, if you love staying updated on your favorites, make sure you're subscribed to StarScope K-Report. We've got even bigger scoops ahead.
So typically, internet outrage cycles fizzle out when the next scandal drops.
Right, usually in a couple of days.
But this incident did not. The RMME fandom bypassed standard social media complaining and went directly to the South Korean government.
Wow.
Yeah, they utilized the National Petition Portal, which is a system that allows citizens to bring grievances directly to the attention of the authorities.
The sheer volume and meticulous organization of those petitions created a massive pressure cooker. The Songpa police station had no choice but to launch a formal internal investigation into the incident.
Exactly, and we pulled the specific legal framework for this. It centers on Article 11 of the South Korean Sexual Violence Punishment Act.
Right. But when you read the actual text of this law, there is a fascinating yet incredibly problematic legal quirk.
Yeah, so under Article 11, a third party, meaning like the fans watching the live stream or standing in the crowd, is legally permitted to report sexual harassment occurring in a public place.
Okay, so the police can open a file based on that third-party report alone.
Right. However, for the act to be officially classified as criminal molestation and actually move to the indictment stage, the victim themselves must explicitly state on the record that they felt, quote, sexual shame.
Wait, sexual shame?
Yes, that's the exact legal term required.
It raises a wild legal contradiction for you to consider. If the law requires the victim to prove sexual shame, doesn't that force an idol whose entire brand is built on stoic perfection and making fans happy into an incredibly vulnerable and messy public position?
That is the exact paradox of the law. It weaponizes the victim's vulnerability. To prosecute an offender, the idol has to break the fourth wall of their flawless persona, stand in a legal setting, and admit to experiencing deep humiliation.
It places a massive psychological and public relations burden on the person who is already victimized.
And to even get to the point of asking Jin for a statement, the police had to figure out who this woman was first.
So they contacted Bighit Music and forced them to hand over the entire 1,000-person guest list from the raffle, right? Just to cross-reference attendees and track down the perpetrator.
Which they did. The accused fan seemed to realize the gravity of the situation, actually, because she briefly fled South Korea.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but she eventually returned to face police questioning. And through her legal counsel, her primary defense was complete ignorance.
Ignorance.
She claimed she simply didn't realize her actions at a, quote, free hug event constituted a criminal offense.
I mean, if you're listening to this right now, you were probably rolling your eyes at your phone. How do you grab a stranger by the neck, kiss them against their will, blog about the texture of their skin, and then claim you didn't know it was illegal?
It is an astonishing defense.
It really is.
Astonishing or not, though, the Seoul Eastern District Prosecutor's Office didn't buy it. In November 2025, she was officially indicted without physical detention.
Which was heralded as a massive milestone in K-pop legal history. It signaled that the government was finally willing to treat the assault of a male idol with the same severity as any other citizen.
Which brings us to the current timeline, August 2026. This trial was supposed to be the ultimate legal test case for South Korea's multi-billion-dollar entertainment sector.
Legal scholars and entertainment executives were watching this so closely, just waiting for a precedent to be set. The trial was originally slated for July 2026.
But it hit a massive brick wall. The fans' legal team filed an official notice of objection regarding her trial dates and applied for a reservation of rights.
Right. And in the South Korean legal framework, this maneuver effectively stalls the proceedings. It allows the defendant to formally contest procedural elements or gather new evidence,
throwing the entire case into this mid-appeal legal limbo. As of now, there are no updates on when or if the trial will actually commence.
And that's not even the wildest part of this controversy. Later in the deep dive, we'll talk about the cultural clash that has international media asking if this is all just a massive overreaction.
So that legal hesitation from the courts created a vacuum. And, whenever there's a vacuum in K-pop, cultural commentators rush in to fill it.
Because the legal case is stalled out, it has evolved from a local police matter into a massive global debate about cultural norms, boundaries, and celebrity entitlement.
We actually analyzed several reports from Dojon Media detailing this exact clash. Impartially speaking, on one side you have South Korea's strict conservative laws regarding personal boundaries and sexual misconduct.
Right. The K-pop industry specifically operates on a look, but don't touch policy unless explicit, heavily monitored permission is granted.
But on the other side, Western media comparisons have been completely different. Some international opinion pieces are pointing to moments in Western pop culture, like Katy Perry surprise kissing a young, non-consenting contestant on American Idol.
Which was played for laughs on national television.
Exactly. Or they point to traditional close contact greetings, like the Maori practice of rubbing noses. Some argue idols have a responsibility to handle overexcited fans without making it a police incident.
I understand the instinct to compare cultural touchstones, but honestly, I have to push back hard on that framing. It's like comparing apples to a highly engineered parasocial rocket ship.
The context is completely different.
Yeah. You can't compare a random American reality show moment to the intense, heavily monetized bias culture of the Hallyu wave, where boundaries are the only thing keeping the idols safe.
That is the vital distinction. When a fan breaches that barrier, it exposes a profound security failure that endangers the entire business model. And Bighit Music's parent company, HYBE, clearly agrees.
Oh, they're completely done playing the cultural relativism game.
Absolutely. They brought down an iron fist. If you look at their Weverse notice from late June 2025, they announced an absolute zero-tolerance policy targeting sexual harassment, stalking, and defamation.
And it wasn't just a boilerplate corporate warning. The specifics outlined in that notice are genuinely terrifying. They explicitly reveal the police are actively investigating an attempted break-in at a BTS member's actual private residence using CCTV evidence.
It's just horrifying. That detail alone proves this goes so far beyond an overexcited fan at a brightly lit stadium. We are talking about premeditated home invasions.
Right. They're actively seeking restraining orders and arresting stalkers in the act. The notice ended with a chillingly clear mandate that there will be absolutely zero leniency or financial settlements extended to offenders.
Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a KT update as we track these changing industry laws. Because this strategy from HYBE is going to fundamentally shift how every other agency protects their artists moving forward.
It is a complete paradigm shift for the industry. HYBE even provided a dedicated legal portal for fans to report malicious posts and IP infringement.
They essentially deputized the fandom, turning millions of passionate listeners into a decentralized global security force. You aren't just streaming their music anymore, you're gathering evidentiary documents for their legal defense fund.
But stepping back, it leaves us looking at the ashes of Jin's original intention. He just wanted to thank his fans. He fought his own corporate management to give people a moment of joy.
And it resulted in police interrogations, international culture wars, and stalled criminal trials.
As we look at Jin's ordeal and HYBE's ironclad legal crackdowns, you have to wonder, are we witnessing the permanent end of the physical fan meet? As the Hallyu wave goes fully global, the very intimacy that built K-pop might be the exact thing that has to die to keep the stars safe.
Wow. Yeah, that is definitely something to think about.
You've been listening to StarScope K-Report, where Eric and Minji bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.